Southern Highlands counting moved to Hagen. Family in Ley seeking justice. And more libraries needed.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seyer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me with Monday's news. The Office of the Electoral Commission is expected to pay the outstanding allowances for counting officials in Port Moresby this week. Angry counting officials have been fronting up at the EC headquarters since last Monday, demanding for their outstanding payments. This afternoon, they told EMTV News their allowances will be proceeded straight into their bank accounts.
For 1 week, over 200 counting officials have been waiting outside the EC headquarters for answers on when they will be given their outstanding allowances. These officials are from the 3 open electorates in Port Moresby, that is Moresby North East, Moresby North West and Moresby South. Counting for the 3 open electorates in Port Moresby was conducted for almost 15 days after a number of delays. These officials say, according to their calculations, they were supposed to have received 5,240 kina each, 3,500 kina for the counting of ballot papers, while 1,400 kina was for meal allowances. This afternoon, they told EMTV News the Electoral Commission is expected to process their outstanding payments straight into their bank accounts. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Opposition strongman and Rabaul MP Dr. Alan Marat says the opposition team has a larger number of members in Parliament compared to previous years. Dr. Marat says whilst the government can have a greater say over the management of the country, it is the opposition side that will debate every move they make. And with a total of 46 members in the opposition, they have the numerical strength to keep the government in check and balance.
Of this parliament as you speak.
The debate between the government and the opposition is one characteristic of any parliamentary democracy in the world. In fact, in Papua New Guinea, the battle, the war of words between the government and the opposition has just begun. Dr. Alan Marat, a long-serving member of the opposition, says in Kokopo last Friday that although the government can have a much greater say over how to run the country, the opposition side will always make sure the government is kept on its toes.
We now have, this country now has a formidable opposition, 46 strong opposition.
Dr. Marat, who arrived in Kokopo last Friday, has received a congratulatory welcome by the East Nubitan people, who highly commended him for being in the opposition. Dr. Marat, in a response to the current government formation, says it is too early to say and predict anything that may happen, but he says the opposition is very strong.
But we plan enough giving rest, long, this is the current government, we want to equalize territory. Also, we talk finish, we got dangerous trend, this is not stop finish. We need to go back to the right track and where we find him democracy.
The current opposition comprises members from the Alliance Party, a coalition led by Pangu and the National Alliance with other smaller parties. The alliance, however, didn't meet the required majority of members to form the government. They only registered 46 members, while the PNC-led coalition registered 60 members and it formed the government in the 10th Parliament. But in this 10th Parliament, the opposition has 29 members more compared to the 2012 opposition team, which has only 17 members. So far, the opposition has put the government to task by questioning the appointed ministers in the caretaker government relating to outstanding allegations from previous years. And the current opposition team says this is a similar scenario that is expected to continue, perhaps over the next 5 years. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Education, economic development and urbanization will be some of the priority areas of development in Goroka. Newly elected MP Henry Ame, in an interview with EMTV News, revealed his plans for the district, saying he wants to restore Goroka to its glory days as the gateway to the Highlands region. Stanley Ove Jr. reports.
In his first week as the new MP for Goroka, Mr. Ame says there is a lot to be done in the district. Ame revealed his plans, saying key areas of development will be his administration's priority.
Roads, infrastructure, bridges, water supply, health centers. In Chadlo district, land is something you may suppose logata inogat. You may like him all these services. You put him lo our posters blow me time you can Chadlo campaign. One plan blow this line education. Education and priority blow me when I look again. Plan the only plan me plan look him. Only losing school now come stop nothing lo place. And all not something where only legal policies me get here. As and when we go through law, the 5-year term blow me and by me look again. Na by me prioritizing all areas of development, na by me give more people money.
One project he wants to see complete in his first year in office is the Goroka Town Market project. The project, first initiated by former MP Bireki Mesopa, has been under dispute over the last 5 years, and Ame says his first action is to see it completed and give the people of Eastern Highlands a proper market.
Because our people have suffered so much. All Mahablo Mitla, all Sister Mitla, everybody only look at proper market facility, only look at proper market where only can come now, Salimo produce block. Because that's why I'm one generating the revenue generating venue where all people don't plan Gorokamas igad. So that's been lacking for so long time. So Empire Tiblomi, Bamigo, Nabamistratim, within the next year, it may take up to 8-9 months to walk in. Big project. So time I'm finished now by we must look him some step backside now, push him this the project now. I must go and finish so.
Being a first-time MP, Ame believes proper planning and delivery of services will move the district forward.
Thank you, Lord. You all get away. You supporting me throughout the election period. You come to be where I am as your member. Now, it is my promise that by me by time, as much as possible, while in the government, Lord, deliver those services where emulating.
Stanley Over Jr., National EMTV News.
Eastern Highlands Province has a new governor, Peter Numu. He unseated Julie Soso, the former governor. Peter Numu, who has a degree in political science and law, was the former UPNG SRC president in 2013, who led the protest against the PNG Defence Force for attacking students at the medical faculty.
At the age of 34, with 2 degrees in political science and law from the University of Papua New Guinea, Peter Numu from Ungaibena has been elected as the governor for Eastern Highlands Province. The governor-elect and member for Sine Yongumul and PNG National Party leader Keranga Kua arrived at Jackson's airport in a chartered flight yesterday afternoon.
So I'd like to thank the 700,000 people of 700,000 plus people of Eastern Highlands. They've spoken through the ballot papers. They have trust in me to rescue this province. We are now ranked second last development in the country. So this province, we really need a leader who can rescue this big province.
Numu went on to say it had been a dream for him when he was in high school to one day be the governor.
My teacher asked me the social science question is, why? What's your dream in future? And I said, I want to become governor of Eastern Highlands. They asked me the second question, why do you want to become the governor? And I said, I want to deliver service to my people of Eastern Highlands. That was my dream. It was started in 2000. And I'd like to thank God for making my dream become reality.
This is his first time to contest the elections and says his win had a lot to do with how he campaigned.
I went to the rural areas, the most remote part of the province, to all corners of the province. And the simple thing is that I stayed with the people, simple people. Me kirap, me round the water blow, round the mountain blow. I understand them. That's how they feel that I'm part of them.
Governor Numu says the first thing he would do as governor is to fix the provincial administration.
The entire provincial administration is in chaos. So we have different groups in the administration. So who gives the command? Who provides the directions? So we have different frictions there. So I want to unite all the public servants.
PNG National Party leader and member for Sinesine Yongomu, Karenga Kua, congratulated the new governor on his win.
And I also congratulate Governor Numu for the big mandate that's been given to him. It's a very big province. It's got 8 open seats, and himself makes the 9th parliamentarian out of one province. And he's got to lead those 8 open members, their districts, and the province together as the governor of the province.
While Peter Numu was then taken to Dreamin to meet with the other opposition members, he has told EMTV that he will take the middle bench and be neutral so he can work with the 8 other Eastern Highlands members to bring development to the province. Adelaide Sirks Kari, National EMTV News.
Counting for Southern Highlands Regional has been moved to Western Highlands Province after an incident erupted last Friday with the death of a man. Ballot boxes were transported yesterday to Mount Hagen Police Station, waiting for a counting venue to be selected and gazetted. In separate press conferences today, Election Manager David Wakias cleared issues in Southern Highlands, while regional candidates called for the speed up of the counting.
Situation report in Mendi is that 3 people are confirmed dead since last Friday and several others severely injured with knife and bullet wounds in relation to the Southern Highlands regional seat counting. Election Manager David Wakias said the Electoral Commission office directed him to move the counting from Mendi to Mount Hagen after the incident happened on Friday. He clarified media reports that there are 131 ballot boxes which were brought down to Mount Hagen for counting. They are currently in its elimination process.
What a ballot box, I'm start 131 ballot boxes, and all candidates, all boxes, all first preference votes. Where I'm start police station, we put it up, we lock him, and we well finish container, and I'm start lab. It's only now we try to identify venue when venue because police barracks coming counting salam we try to find him.
Meanwhile, in a separate media conference today, 3 candidates who are running 2nd, 3rd and 4th in the elimination urged the Electoral Commission to speed up the electoral process or declare it a failed election. Joe Koppel, who is currently running 2nd, refuted claims by the sitting governor and first in the race, William Powie, that there are 84 disputed boxes that needed to be counted. Koppel said there are 18 disputed boxes and all the regional candidates signed a memorandum of understanding to leave those boxes aside. The election manager also confirmed that there are 18 disputed boxes which cannot be counted as they are currently in the elimination process.
If you can't do anything at the moment, Jacob Kurap has hijacked it, and both of them hijacked the elections there. They should be charged, criminally charged for that. Police should arrest them. Where is the law and order? Where is the police? Whom do we have to respond to? The Electoral Commission is coming up clear.
The third in the race, Jerry Kiwai, raised concerns of the cost involved in bringing the ballot boxes to Mount Hagen, its safety, and of the scrutinous counting officials and the supporters. Kiwai says the process needs to be speeded up or be declared as failed.
The Electoral Commissioner is continuing to facilitate those lies, those level of facts that you are hearing one side. You have enough evidence sitting in your office. Your deputy commissioner, everybody else involved in the process are aware of these things. So it should come down quickly. We have almost wasted 5 weeks.
Another candidate, 4th in the race, Bernard Peter, warned the Electoral Commission not to take the boxes to other provinces apart from Mount Hagen. The 3 candidates also appealed for the new provincial returning officer to be left alone to complete the counting.
The police personnel from outside and defense, they have managed the election well. They provided the security, safety, and everything ran well. Together with them in Hagen and the police in Hagen, they will deliver a good winner. And
the riot in Mendi has calmed down after the boxes were transported to Mount Hagen yesterday. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
You're watching National EMTV News. More stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Over 20,000 grade 12 students right across the country today set for the written expression examination. Our news crew visited two schools in Port Moresby, Jubilee Catholic Secondary and Port Moresby National High, which saw over 300 students start the exams on time at 8:30 in the morning. The 3 hours of the exam were tough, with the topic on Air Niugini's achievements in recent years. The second lot of national exams for grade 12 students will begin in October. Waigani Christian College is now among other schools in the country taking part in the national exams. The Christian College initially provided primary level education, however it has now upgraded to upper secondary through a program with the Education Department. The Christian College decided to trial the Standard Education Board program, which gives students a second chance.
195 students are the pioneer grade 12 students of Waigani Christian College taking part in the national exams this week. These students are under the trial special-based education project, which began in 2014 at the Christian College. Under this course, it allows for students who have not made it into the national selections be given a second chance in undertaking grade 9, 10, 11 and now 12.
10 marks fell 1 or 2 marks below the cut-off marks for grade 9 and 11 selections, but we brought them here, we gave them a second chance, and the results we produced is overwhelming, and the results spoke otherwise. We have, students over the last 2 years that we have graduated grade 10, a good number of our students are in schools of excellence, and that proved that we have not let the government down. We are partnering with the government to deliver the best education services.
The results from these exams will be an important feedback to the Education Department as to what becomes of students who cannot make it into the national selection process. College Principal Abukera Kaupa says the results will be analyzed and a report prepared by the school to the Education Department.
Education system that we have is like a bottleneck. So we say, okay, the grade 8, the good ones can continue and the bad ones will go back to the village. Then up to grade 10, we say, okay, the good ones will continue to grade 11 and 12, and the bad ones, you go back to the village. We are destroying the young lives of Papua New Guinea. So we must have a system in place so that all the students must start the education from elementary up and finish at grade 12.
Meanwhile, according to the school director, the college will be signing an MOU with the University of Goroka next week.
Goroka University, Vice Chancellor, he came down with his committees so that they are going to set up a university affiliate with Waigani Christian College. So our students, when they finish grade 12 here, they will continue with university courses here. So next week, we are going to sign an MOU.
Waigani Christian College started from humble beginnings with only 13 students as a preschool. It is now operating for over 24 years with 2 campuses in NCD. Merlin Diaukatam, National EMTV News.
The call for each school to have a library was reiterated today at the opening of the National Book Week. This year's theme, Libraries for Nation Building, according to a head teacher, signals the need for more investment in libraries. While challenges remain for most schools that do not have a library, the bonus is now on the government to ensure the national goal of universal primary education is achievable.
Basic infrastructural facilities like libraries in all schools right across the country still remains a great challenge. According to head teacher for St. Teresa's Primary School at Port Moresby, Kristen Chuga, facilities like libraries are needed to enhance learning. She said the government should look at ways of how best to provide substantial resources to encourage children to attend school and keep them interested to pursue studies.
Library is the bank of knowledge in schools, in institutions. Regardless of what, there must be library set, whether it be in the room or it can be outside, because this is where the fruit of knowledge is.
A study conducted recently revealed that not all provinces under the national education system
support the national goals to provide basic education for all citizens because of the government's lack of funding. Therefore, the national government should increase budgetary allocations to improve infrastructural facilities like libraries.
As my school, I have a school library and I have classroom libraries that teachers set for students to use. And in my school, it's a book week every week and every term. And I mean that every Monday we have 30 minutes, drop everything and read.
The government should help schools in and around the country, that they should provide library facilities for students to learn more.
This year's slogan, Libraries for Nation Building, was selected in line with the United Nations Agenda on Sustainable Development, Goal number 4, closely linked to quality education.
Goal to learn more about other countries in the books that they are reading, and for them to gain better knowledge, instead from some from our teachers and some from the books that we are going to read.
The school has programmed to visit the National Library as of tomorrow from grades 3 to 8, and in each classes, grades, they are given activities.
The National Book Week is one annual event within the Ministry of Education, organized and coordinated by the Office of the Library and Archives. National Education Secretary Dr. Oke Kombra has called on all teachers and students of all institutions to actively participate in this event to promote and celebrate books and reading as important sources of enhancing knowledge acquired during teaching and learning. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
The family of a 22-year-old Eastern Highlands man are demanding immediate action from police after he was allegedly beaten to death by members of a Lay security firm. Tony Paul was thought to be among a group that robbed a service station at 10 Mile outside of Lay. He was assaulted by members of guard dog security and pronounced dead when he arrived at Engau Hospital.
Tensions were high since yesterday after 22-year-old Tony Paul was pronounced dead at Engau Hospital. He was thought to be one of 3 people responsible for robbing the 10 Mile service station. His family and friends say he wasn't part of the group. This morning, his relatives laid his body at the service station in protest, demanding that the owners of the store and guard dog security compensate them for their loss. Police were called in when the situation escalated yesterday. This morning, there was also heavy police presence. This is the 7th clash so far between members of the 10 Mile community and guard dog security. Guards have also been attacked on previous occasions. Senior members of the company were in meetings this afternoon. A formal statement is expected to be released later. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lay.
Gibensis villagers in Morbe's Huon Gulf district are calling on the authorities to assist their flood-stricken village. Villagers who have been affected are currently using their primary school as a care center. More than 20 homes were washed away by the floods and gardens were also damaged.
More than 20 houses were destroyed last Saturday and Sunday when the nearby river broke its banks and swept into the Gibensis village. Nature's wrath and the destruction it caused evident in the houses left standing and the erosion.
So first house line come Rausim house bimilo Saturday na bianim disla baret go round ogataya disla ogata up and finish.
Villagers said the waters rose gradually and then swept through the village. The villagers are still counting the costs. Livestock, pets and their gardens have all been swept away. Several permanent houses were also swept away, each costing up to 100,000 of kina.
Permanent house. Mi wiring finish na pawa imsa gona misa yusim. Matau waram kamem ol mangi ol guantapem dislo something em bagarap.
3,000 plus old man Miri, plus a place, but affected one Biblagad long and close to 200.
Morobe is a disaster-prone province. Every year, the damage caused to communities and transport infrastructure is enormous. Provincial authorities are still assessing the total costs. Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at $0.3145 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.307 $0.3831 Australian dollars, $0.2567 euro, and 33.65 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, copper closed higher, gold is trading the day lower, while coffee and cocoa closed the day lower. Palm oil and copper closed higher, while crude oil is trading lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 66.71 points higher, the ASX closed at 54.62 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 52.09 points higher. National EMTV News will be back with stories making headlines overseas. Stay with us.
In World War II. And with his meetings there, he hopes to contain the threat from North Korea. It's making America nervous, but there seems to be no immediate solution.
In southwestern Syria, there is an oasis of calm in the country's civil war, thanks to a ceasefire that is holding for now. It's a result of a US-Russian effort that some locals and government troops are giving Moscow all the credit.
It was one of the most violent battlefields in Syria. Syrian army video shows fighting between government forces and rebels in Quneitra, right on Israel's doorstep. But now there's a ceasefire. Tanks are parked, soldiers relaxed. The fighting has significantly decreased since the ceasefire, this officer tells me. You totally noticed that. We don't hear shelling anymore, but sometimes groups like the Nusra Front break the truce. Nusra is not part of the agreement. If they start shooting, we have to retaliate. This is the front line, right in the heart of town. While both the U.S. and Russia brokered this truce, the Syrian government troops feel it's Russia that has the upper hand. Russia has helped a lot, he says. They laid the groundwork for the ceasefire. They have the most power. Quneitra is one of 3 areas in Syria where the U.S. and Russia negotiated truces between government and opposition forces.
The people here say, of course, they appreciate the calm since the ceasefire has been put in place, but they also say it's had almost an immediate impact on life here, with more people venturing out and many businesses opening their doors once again.
A lull on the battlefield means more commotion at the barber shop, where Hadi al-Assad works, and many soldiers and townspeople now come to get a trim. We want this to be solved for good, he says. We just want our lives to be the way they were before. Farming is also ramping up again. Nasir al-Sayed spends hours in the blazing sun threshing wheat. While he commends both Russia and America for brokering the truce, he's grateful only to Moscow. If America would have wanted to solve this, they could have done it a long time ago, he says. Russia is working hard. They are strong allies. From posts on the Golan Heights, Israel is observing things with growing unease. The Israelis fear the ceasefire could allow its arch-enemies, Iran and Hezbollah, supporters of the Assad government, to move forces into this area. But at the moment, the people in this town aren't worried about bigger Middle Eastern security concerns. They're just enjoying the calm while it lasts.
People in much of Europe have been warned to stay cool. Temperatures have soared well above 40 degrees Celsius. The unusually long heat wave hitting the region is the most tensed in more than a decade, and it's even earned a nickname to match.
It's hot out there, so devilishly hot, this heat wave has a nickname, Lucifer, and it's gripping parts of southern and eastern Europe. Serbia, Romania, Croatia, parts of Italy, Spain, and France.
It feels bad. Such weather makes me drink a liter of water every half hour.
After you wet yourself with water, it feels like hot steam in the air around you.
Serbia is on red alert, the highest weather warning. And in Romania, reports the heat's turned deadly, at least 2 killed. What separates this from your average summer scorcher? Record-breaking temperatures lasting a lot longer than usual. A deadly combination, sparking wildfires and water shortages, and in some places, damaging crops. All this during peak tourist season.
We're visiting from England, and we've had some nice weather this year, but it's not as hot as Rome, nowhere near. Making sure we're just drinking lots of water.
That's good advice, experts say, warning people to be careful, to avoid the sun. And if you do go out, don't forget the sunscreen.
Reinforcements have been brought in to help teach elephant gamekeepers how to hunt and stop ivory poachers. Tens of thousands of forest elephants have been killed in the African state of Gabon. 85% of the country is covered by dense bush, which helps aid the illegal activity.
Through the second largest rainforest in the world, trying to find an animal whose numbers have declined by more than 60% over the last 10 years. And this is about as close as you'll ever get to them. Forest elephants are wary of humans. We had to turn the engine off and stay silent. This close they can charge. They're much smaller than the better-known savanna elephant, but just as vulnerable to poachers who target them for the same reason, their ivory. This is what's been happening to them. Another victim to the poachers. It had been dead for weeks. Just the valuable tusks taken, the rest left to rot.
Talking about all Gabon, I think we lost 30,000 elephants. There's 10 last year. It's a big threat, it's a big problem, it's an important problem now for Gabonese administration.
For the first time, we've been allowed to film the small team of UK soldiers who are helping train Gabon's National Park Agency in their fight to save the elephant.
Gabon has got a real high density of forest elephants. That's why it's got a poaching problem. Out here training the Gabonese National Parks Agency to combat that, both at the tactical and operational levels, means that the British Army can make a difference in that fight against the illegal wildlife trade.
These days, the greatest threat to these elephants is not the locals, but criminal gangs who operate across the border.
They show no mercy. They come, they kill. And now we're in a situation where some of our national parks, it's a war zone.
Even with a global ban on the sale of ivory, there's still an illegal trade. And hidden away in these forests, these elephants are still easy prey.
Up next, big upsets in NRL. That story in Trukai Sports when we return. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Proud parents Josefa Wailoni and husband Muyan were impressed with High Performance Sport PNG's Emerging Talent Identification Program. This came after their son Xavier was selected by ETS program to undergo a 13-week trial to earn a 1-year sports scholarship with HPS PNG. Xavier was among 100 other teenagers from various schools within NCD inducted into the program by HPS PNG. The youngster's mother Wailoni was convinced the program would be good for her son's sporting aspirations. Round 22 of the National Rugby League saw many big upsets over the weekend. This round saw many teams playing for pride, while others played to keep their 2017 NRL Telstra Premiership campaign alive.
Since 2009,
and 28.
The Bulldogs suffered a 20-4 defeat on Thursday night to the Eels. The Eels have been dominant over the past few weeks with the help of Tigers transfer Mitchell Moses. This now sees the Eels on 5th place on the competition points ladder. The Rabbitohs stunned the Dragons on Friday night with a 26-24 win. The Dragons were hoping for a win to maintain their position in the top 8. After the loss, they now sit just outside the top 8. The Melbourne Storm came off another impressive win after defeating the Cowboys 26-8 at Smile Stadium. The Cowboys had a terrible night, losing some of their key players to injuries. The Knights managed another back-to-back win over the Warriors at McDonald Jones Stadium on Saturday afternoon. They beat the Warriors 26-10. The Titans were embarrassed after their dismal performance against the Broncos. They suffered a humiliating 54-0 loss to the Broncos. The Sharks have gone 2 weeks without a win. They lost 12 points to 30 to the Raiders on Saturday night, but are still amongst the top 8. The Sea Eagles bounced back from their shameful loss to the Dragons to beat second-placed Roosters 36 points to 18. In the last match of round 22, the Tigers came close to securing a win over the Panthers, but the Panthers held on to the end to beat the Tigers 28 points to 14. 3 rounds still remain in the NRL Telstra Premiership. Teams in the top 8 will be fighting to maintain their spot, while teams in 9th and 10th place will be hoping to make it to the top 8. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
Still to come in Trukai Sports, Usain Bolt loses the title of world's fastest man. And that story is still making headlines in sports. I'll be back with the details. Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To athletics, Usain Bolt has congratulated Justin Gatlin on his win in the 100-meter finals at the IAAF World Championships. Both Gatlin and Bolt paid their respects to one another. Bolt added that his body was telling him it was time to retire, and he said he had been competing this whole season in the memory of his late friend Jermaine Mason.
My start was horrifying as always, and it's surprising. Shorter runs I always get better, but I didn't. So just one of those things. No, this is it. You know what I mean? My body's telling me it's time. You know what I mean? My legs are hurting now. It's the first time I've ever done running, and my legs are hurting. So it's time to go.
It's still Usain Nights. Win or lose, he's a great athlete. He's done a lot for the sport. He's taken the sport to a different level. He's inspired me to be the athlete I am right now.
In related news, elsewhere at the competition, there's been controversy, Justin Gatlin getting a mixed reaction after he beat Usain Bolt.
It was the sight and the sound that athletics had feared.
Justin Gatlin.
The American, twice banned for drug offences, crowned world champion of the sport's blue riband event. Some booed, some applauded, others didn't seem to know quite how to react. Instead, the cheers were reserved for the man the crowd had been desperate to see win in his final individual race. But Usain Bolt had to make do with bronze. The sprint superstar denied the perfect end to his glittering career. Gatlin's triumph has gone down badly with the world's most senior anti-doping official.
And it's unfortunate mainly because he was a two-time offender. In many ways, I wish it hadn't happened, but it has, and we have to abide by the rules of the game.
At the last World Championships in Beijing, athletics breathed a sigh of relief when Bolt narrowly beat Gatlin. But 2 years on, Gatlin's become one of the sport's most controversial winners, and some now want track and field to get tougher.
Yes, we should be disgruntled with the people that make the rules and go, it's time for change, and it's time to get serious, and it's time to go, when you're caught for drugs, you're banned for life.
And that's the point. The shadow cast by cheating extends well beyond Gatlin. World champion hurdler Sergei Shebenkov is one of just 19 Russians allowed to compete here, but only as neutral athletes because the country's banned for state-sponsored doping. But it's Gatlin who's athletics pantomime villain. Last night, I asked Gatlin whether the sport could be proud of its new 100 metres champion.
Mistakes can happen, but you can come back and you work hard for them, and, you know, you can be accepted back to a sport.
Many in the sport had hoped the Jamaican national anthem would be played here tonight. For track and field, the retirement of its greatest star is proving especially painful.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
True Kai Sports.
Fog in all centers. Strong wind warning for small ships for this afternoon and tonight. Current for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Islands to Kerma to Yule Island to Hood Point to all Milne Bay Islands, including Samurai Islands to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samurai Island, and with waters of Kerma, seas of 1 to 2 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, and with waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Vitia Strait, Dampier Strait including CSE Island to Long Island, seas of 2 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Long Island to Medang, to Bogia, to Iwak, to Aitape to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, seas of 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and with waters of East New Britain to New Island and Bougainville, seas of 1 to 1.5 meters, and waters west of West New Britain, seas of 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas for this afternoon and tonight. In the Coral Sea, seas slight to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas slight to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to patches rough with southeast winds at 15 to 25 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Before we go, a recap of our top stories again. Counting for the Southern Highlands regional seat moved to Mount Hagen. Family in Ley want justice following the death of their 22-year-old son, and more libraries needed in schools. And that's the way it is this Monday, the 7th of August 2017. From the news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.